Hello and welcome to another Wise Tips. Eduardo, how are you?
I'm good. Let's do this.
Now we're continuing our series here about small things that can make the biggest difference. And specifically here in the last couple ones, we've talked about the different charge entry tools and how to get the most out of them and make sure you're using the best most effectively, because that is something across the board that can make the biggest amount of difference.
Yes. And today I think we're going to be bring topics about old friend and
The old friend, the
hopefully,
task finder.
yes, and hopefully say some things that people didn't know about the task finder.
Yes, definitely. Now, we're purposefully going to keep this very, very short, and you know why? Because you should not be using it all the time. So
Yes.
we're gonna keep it short and sweet to match that, everybody.
Okay.
All right, I'll go ahead and I'll bring up my system, and we'll go ahead and we'll do some
Okay.
examples.
The task finder to me is the easiness. Like we said before, it's not clearly the most efficient in clicks. There's not the most efficient in keystrokes. uh, Yet. It's a very powerful tool that you can use at any time to make your entries, find codes in an easy way. You just need to know part of the term. One thing that you should know is number one, Task Finder is based on the task file sort ID, not the name. So
Yeah.
if you want to have the Task Finder to find your code, excuse me, make sure that you are putting that term in the sort ID. And
Yes.
that's the thing that we have about the task finder. The beauty of the task finder is the structure. It gives you all the options, and right there you can make your choice. But there's one thing that people usually don't know about the task finder. It's okay that it's associated to the impact, but do you know what it is, Rachel?
I do. It's default quantities.
Default quantities. That's exactly right.
Yes.
So how would you describe default quantities on task finder?
So, default quantities is a feature part of our impact package, which allows users to create in the task file setup itself some default quantities for particular items. So, you can see here actually in this example that I have for Banamine, I actually have two default quantities here with this container bottle of 100 mils. One is for a 10 mil dose, and then one is for a bottle. So, probably the best way to showcase this is to showcase how I would charge for a bottle without a default quantity and how I would charge for a bottle with the default quantity, so you can see how much faster it is.
Let's do it.
So, if I wasn't using the default quantities, I would double click here on the container, and then I'm going to go ahead and I will, of course, we had our handy dandy pop up that comes up for us to confirm the quantity. If we have impact to base unit versus container, so I'll select a container. And then, of course, I'm going to go ahead and click submit down here at the bottom. So once that's clicked, and only then, now it submits it. So
As
lots
you
of
can
clicks
see,
there.
to me, it was mind-boggling, the number of clicks, the
I
number of
know.
keystrokes.
So
Yeah.
now we're going to shorten things up a little bit, and I'm going to come back here. And this time I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually use my default quantity here underneath that container, which I've just titled bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and make that selection. And you'll notice here, it skipped that next pop-up because it had already been set up under the default quantities. So it skipped that whole 3 extra clicks that I had just done.
So in other words, there's a way for the task finder to be in the click killer mode as well.
It is. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. And even then when utilizing it, like you had mentioned there, making best use of the sort ID of your task file, that's extremely helpful. Another thing that can be really helpful with that task finder there too, especially when you come here to this section, I'll pull this one back up here. When you come back here to this section that pops up here, is just being able to utilize even one hotkey, just one, using that
I've
Alt
seen
S.
people typing 0.5, and it's right there. There's a button that
I
does
know. A
0.5
little 5,
or
yep,
or 12 or 11 or
yep.
yeah, you
So if
can.
you're this can be really handy too if you're on, obviously if you're on like an iPad or a touch screen also, or if you just really like the mouse, that's fine too. So don't bother clicking here and then backspace and then typing, just click 0.5 and click submit there. So, like you said, there are ways to make the task finder more effective and more in the click killer mode. But again, this should be a result here of a relatively small percentage of your charge entry. This should not be making the majority of your charge entry.
Yes. One last thing I'd like to say about the task finder is that oftentimes people say, I just create a new task file and it's that task is not showing in my task finder.
Good one.
You
Yeah.
know, so Well, to make the index of finding the task finder faster for you guys, we put in a memory. And if you just created a new task file, do a memory flush. When you come
Yep.
back and you log in again, that's when the item is going to be in the task finder for you.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And there's a quick little link right here. On your right click menu, flush memory right there.
Yes.
So very easy. Bring back your favorite tabs and keep going from there.
Yeah. So if you just create a task file and it's not in your task finder, it's not a glitch.
It's not a glitch. Promise. It's just because we tried to make the task finder as fast as it can be.
Yeah. So it's a good friend. And
Yes.
and surprisingly, we presented a way to do some click killer mode on the task finder as well.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well,
Love
thanks
it.
so much, everyone, for joining us. And we'll be back again with some more tips. As always, if you have any questions, let us know.
See you next time.